Let's talk about Doryani's Touch Berserker, a very unique lightning attack build. Doryani's Fist is one of the items that require building the whole character around it. It's a pair of gloves granting you a built-in skill, Doryani's Touch. This attack cannot be evaded, so you won't have to worry about accuracy, but to use it, you're prohibited to wear any weapon. It adds a lot of lightning damage to attacks, to recompensate for this disadvantage, and for the inability to make it a 6-link setup. It also has an absurdly high effectiveness of added damage at 600%, that's twice the amount of even the most effective attacks. Berserker is a great class for any attack build. It includes this purely elemental type of attack. It's for the best to pick Warbringer, Crave the Slaughter, Rite of Ruin, and Aspect of Carnage. It results in a build heavily tied to Warcries and Rage to exert attacks and to gain more damage. This build uses the Tempered by War keystone from Lethal Pride, Doryani's prototype, and Exile's Machination Shield. It creates a complicated web of many overlapping mechanics that influence your defenses. To put it simply, you will take no cold or lightning damage, only fire, chaos, and physical. The unique body armor encourages you to lower your own lightning resistance by up to -200% to deal more lightning damage yourself to nearby enemies. With this setup, it is guaranteed to one-shot nearly all opponents and even some map bosses. Doryani's Touch deals purely lightning damage. You take only one type of elemental damage. With Purity of Fire, your maximum fire resistance can be boosted up to nearly 90% after you reach maximum energy shield. Your maximum chaos resistance is also very high due to Divine Flesh. Armor is sourced from Determination, Defiance Banner, and Gear. It's a slow slam attack, but due to its damage and area of effect, clearing goes pretty smoothly. Single target damage is very good. It deals around 5 million damage with a single hit, which you can boost with Berserk and Totems. It's expensive due to the price of unique items, namely the shield and body armor. The build uses many unique items which are all very important for optimal performance. Exile's Machination is currently very expensive, but it's possible to play without it. It would, however, alter the build in a substantial way. It ties together many defensive aspects and it's too good not to choose it. As you're using 3 different Warcries, it is recommended to pick up Echoes of Creation as it simply grants up to 45% more damage for the first attacks after using these skills. It will damage you each time you attack, which won't occur very often. Exile's Machination Shield is essential to redirect elemental damage to be taken as chaos. Combined with Tempered by War, it disables cold and lightning damage you take. It also grants extra maximum elemental resistances after gathering 100% energy shield. Doryani's prototype is a body armor that makes your armor affect your lightning resistance, and your lightning resistance affects nearby enemies instead of you. You should lower it to -200%. If you have no trouble acquiring enough fire and chaos resistances, you can use a specific version of Doryani's Delusion for added lightning damage and level 25 Purity of Fire. Doryani's Fist. This build-enabling piece of equipment grants you the Doryani's Touch skill. Your support gems for this attack should be socketed here. You can seek the corrupted versions, but more importantly, get one with high roll on added damage to attacks. You can easily grab some extra maximum endurance charges and turn them into brutal charges for much more damage with Arn's Anguish. This belt also grants tons of fire resistance and maximum life, definitely a great pick. Use Lethal Pride to gain more strength and to change one of your keystones into Tempered by War. We recommend placing it near the Agnostic keystone. Chieftain's Tawaha is great for upgrading your slams, but you can also go for the Unstoppable, Unbreakable, or Unflinching keystones granted by Forbidden Flesh and Flame. You're using Wrath, Determination, and Purity of Fire. Watcher's Imod for Wrath can get you increased damage, Determination has a lot of defensive options, and Purity is great for physical damage from hits taken as fire damage. Rare jewelry and boots' main purpose is to grant chaos and fire resistance, intelligence, and added lightning damage. These can be easily acquired, but the real issue is to lower your lightning resistance to -200%. Previously it had to be done with unique items, but in patch 3.19 you can easily find the negative values on your rings and amulet, and it's achievable with just 2 rare pieces of jewelry. Energy shield, critical strike, and accuracy rating are purposeless. Besides movement speed, maximum life, fire, chaos resistance, and intelligence, which are all very important, there's not much to look for on your boots. If you're concerned more with chaos resistance and maximum life, you can always go for the reliable rare belt instead of Arn's Anguish. Maximum life, added lightning damage, intelligence, fire, and chaos resistance are the most desirable stats to seek on the amulet. Remember that there are a lot of redundant negative stats that you can gain from Mirror of Kalandra at the cost of the ones you actually want. The jewelry should lower your lightning resistance by 200%, it's possible with mirrored items. On the ring seek negative lightning resistance, life, attributes, and damage modifiers. On the rare jewels try to get more maximum life, resistances, attributes, and added or increased lightning damage with attacks. Large cluster jewels offer basic attack modifiers for increased damage or some defensively oriented notables for when you're holding a shield. Use the medium cluster jewels for Warcry buff effects such as Haunting Shout or Lead by example. 1 should be enough. Small cluster jewels. Uncompromising grants 50% increased mana reservation efficiency for Determination. Electric Presence does the same for Wrath. The flasks are all of magic quality. Get 1 life flask with instant life recovery on use, Quicksilver flask of adrenaline for an extra movement speed, Granite flask for extra armor, Quartz flask for phasing and spell suppression chance, and Sulfur flask to create consecrated ground and gain increased damage. These should remove bleeding on use and increase your armor. If you're not already immune to freeze, gain a mod for freeze immunity. The main Doryani's touch setup should be socketed in your gloves, it's where the active skill is located. Link it with added lightning damage, pulverize, elemental damage with attacks, and, depending on what type of content you're running, increased area of effect or concentrated effect support gems. You can switch between these two. Wrath adds lightning damage to your attacks, which is distinctly desirable. Use Determination for more and increased armor rating. Purity of Fire provides you with additional fire resistance and maximum fire resistance, the only type of elemental damage you're receiving. Defiance Banner not only increases your armor and evasion but also reduces critical strike chance for nearby enemies. Blood and Sand. You can switch between Blood and Sand stance to gain more area damage at the cost of area of effect and vice versa. Punishment is one of many viable curses. This one magnifies your damage against opponents with less than 50% of their maximum life. Blood Rage grants you Life Leech and increases your attack speed at the cost of slowly draining your life. Level 1 is enough, as it will require too much dexterity later on. Link these two with Life Tap and Cast when damage taken support gems. You will activate this setup quite often due to self-inflicted damage from Echoes of Creation. In your helmet, you should socket 3 War Cries. Enduring Cry regenerates your life, grants endurance charges, and additional physical damage reduction. Intimidating Cry taunts all the enemies and causes your attacks to deal double exerted damage. Seismic Cry makes your attacks much more likely to cause stun and knocks enemies back. Your exerted attacks have a greater area of effect. Link these 3 with Life Tap support. Ancestral Warchief is a totem you can raise to gain more melee damage. You can spend all of your rage to gain very formidable bonuses to your damage and defenses that deplete over time via Berserk skill. Molten Shell prevents a portion of incoming damage for some time. It's more potent the more armor you have. Flame Dash is a simple movement spell that allows you to teleport over a short distance. Killing all 3 bandits for 2 extra points is the only sound solution to the bandit quest. For a major god, we can recommend the Brine King. It grants periodical stun immunity and after capturing an extra soul, immunity to freeze. You're vulnerable to damage over time, and for that, we recommend Soul of Abarath, Soul of Shikari, or Soul of Ralakesh. The passive skill 3 is centered around maximum life, Warcry clusters, mana reservation efficiency, endurance charges, and lightning damage. From the 2 Warcry clusters with Admonisher and Measured Fury, you're able to allocate 2 masteries, one to recover 15% of life after using Warcry, and the other for 20% increased damage per Warcry used recently. Life clusters allow you to gain extra maximum life. The Aura cluster with Sovereignty and Champion of the Cause can be used as a source of an increased aura effect and increased damage per aura. As for the Lightning Mastery, pick the one to cause your non-critical strikes to be lucky. The only keystone is Tempered by War, obtained by transforming the Agnostic. That is all for this video. We'd be very happy to see you give it a thumbs up. See you in the next one.